Welcome to the MonsoonSIM version 10 launch. MonsoonSIM has gone through a decade of continuous innovation and development in making teaching and learning easier through technology. Over the past 10 years, MonsoonSIM has been the pioneer as a platform provider in enterprise-wide business concept experiential learning. Our motto, easier to teach, easier to learn, more to teach, more to learn, has been the core principle for our R&D. Thanks to you, the MonsoonSIM community now has grown to about 1,500 facilitators and about 100,000 alumni globally. And today, we are proud to bring you our latest version, version 10. First off, in version 10, the registration for learners is very fast. How fast? Well, in version 9, say you are signing up 100 students who are new to MonsoonSIM into your game, it may take you, say, about 5 to 10 minutes because each of the students will have to go through the following simple steps. In version 10, all you have to do is to copy this link and send it to them through the chat or through the whatever channel that you like to use. Simply share the link to the learners for the game participation, cut down registration time, say from 5 to 10 minutes to 2 to 3 minutes. And this same link is applicable for existing learners or new learners. Next, improved user interface for version 10. Let's take a look at this screen. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indicators. Let's go through them one by one. Number 1 is side-by-side look. So in version 9, this transaction box on the left of the screen and the KPI box to the right, they are mutually exclusive. And if you open the transaction, the KPI box will sink below the transaction box until you close it and it will float up. Now in version 10, they appear side by side. Number 2, that there is a game roadmap. As they play the game, they will see the roadmap, just like they're driving on a highway. There's a roadmap of when the game is going to stop, what are the road signs. And the road signs will give them what is going to happen, say on day 35, 36. Will there be a crisis? Will there be a change in parameters? Will there be new modules being added on? Number 3, the check boxes are now tucked away on the right-hand corner, upper corner. That way, the user who wants to use the chat can freely use them, or those who doesn't want to use the chat can leave them alone. Number 4, the offers are coming in boxes instead of rows. For example, the e-commerce offers. So this is the new look. And number 5, the player team and personal information is here instead of the right-hand corner like in version 9. So these are some of the changes. Next, in each of the KPI line items, if you click on it, there will be a box that appears with the description of the KPI. So this is excellent for students who are left to explore by themselves and reading the description. Next, the procurement is now decentralized under the retail and warehouse menu. In version 9, they are centralized under one procurement menu, but now they are decentralized. So this will give them easier access and is more intuitive for the learners. And indicator number 2 shows that for blanket purchase, each of the delivery is clearly posted. Next up, inventories allocated for shipment, both for B2B or for movement, are clearly shown under each transaction as shown in 1. That way, learner can always see the status of the allocation, including how many has been allocated and how many are still required. That brings on to this page, which says that inventory that have been allocated but not shipped out yet are shown in 1A. And this inventory will now appear also in your KPI box as shown in 1B. The benefit of this is that the learner can understand that some inventories that are allocated for shipment must also be accounted for. Obviously, it has impact if you want to close the store because there are some products are still in the store. They are not available for sale, but these inventories are being allocated for some other purposes. Therefore, you cannot close the store until you settle those. Next, there are improved user interface everywhere. One of them is like marketing report. There's a new look from version 9 to version 10. The tab format with micro charts all over, so you can see the micro trends, so on. Then there is surface bit new looks as another example. When you scheduling the staff to provide some service, you can clearly see how many days that you have allocated and how many days being required. Next, we have improved user interface in e-commerce. As we said earlier, the offers come in not in the form of a row. Now it comes in the form of a little box. And then you just do your selling or you just do your buying. Again, these are some of the examples. There are many more such changes in version 10. We have just highlighted a few. Right, this is another one. There's alert message when you fail to close a store. In the past, you won't know why you cannot close the store. But now, if you try to close the store, you get an alert message that says that, look, you cannot close this store because you still have item stored in this location, the area used, and then you can look at the outstanding allocation that have resulted in products still sit in the store and not shipped out yet. So that's why you cannot close the store. I hope this will really make teaching and learning a lot easier now, since there will be less question coming from the students about this particular issue. Then we have these bigger microcharts. In version 9, the microcharts are hidden within the KPI box, and since they are narrow columns, so therefore the charts are slightly smaller, but in version 10, they are all in one place and they have a bigger real estate. You can see a bigger chart. And of course, you can click here and filter based on how many days of historical record you want to see. You can see live update, or you can see the past 10 days, 15 days, etc. Next, we have the new looks in HR, the HCM, Human Capital Management. For example, in procurement department, you can see all your staff here. Transaction update. This is the second major improvement in version 10. For example, when you look at a transaction, the update happens instantaneously in real time and without you having to refresh the page. So, for example, you've just approved a transaction and you can see that when it is in progress, you will see the date change and the status change, and the store appears on the KPI box automatically. All this without having to click anything. Then we have this new transaction by teammates appears automatically. It means that when your teammate makes a new transaction, for example, you can see that on your screen. Again, without having to refresh the procurement page, you can see what's going on. Oh, it looks like Linbot has just triggered a transaction, and then you can click that transaction and pull up the detail. So that way, again, less clicking for the students, so that when they can focus on the screen, something happened, they click, and then they get the more they get more detailed information. Same thing, right? New offers coming from B2C, service, e-commerce, etc., they will appear automatically without you having to refresh. For example, new B2B offers will arrive in a form of a notification as shown in 1. This is it. And clicking it will pull up the detail. Then we have HR, which is the HCM, Human Capital Management, staff status update automatically. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go through them one by one. Staff status updates automatically as shown is 1 in 1. So for example, one of the staff is having an issue or is resigning, and you can tell right away without having to refresh this page. And then learner do not have to keep refreshing this page to get the latest status. And the menu for the staff can be found in 2. So in other words, say Jean O'Neill here is having an issue, you can click number 2 to pull up the menu. What you can do with that, you can send it for transfer, you can transfer the staff, or you can send for counseling, etc. And the menu of hiring for the Department of Procurement is also clearly shown here, next to the department name. Then additional controls are available here, see number 4. So for example, you want to hide their job history, you want to hide their ocean factor, you want to hide their CAP competency, just click them, or you can collapse all departments. Then we have pre-configured parameters. This is another major improvement in version 10. Let's see what happened. In version 9, you can see the clock running, and then if you want to change something, you have to stop, you have to do it, and then you have to wait till the day it happens, and then you see the change happens. In version 10, you can pre-configure that. So for example, you can pre-configure something to happen on certain day in advance. So therefore, you have a roadmap here in version 10. You can see this is a coffee break. There's going to be a break here, and the game will resume momentarily, and you can see this game is stopping on day, in this particular day, and so on. This is what we call the roadmap. So for example, in day 1 today, say today is day 1, and you want to schedule to turn on production on day 10. In version 9, you can't do that. You have to wait till the version 10, turn it on, and then continue. In version 10, you can do that in day 1, pre-schedule it. Another example, today is day 3, allowing vendor 3 to be in play in day 14. In version 9, you cannot do that. In version 10, you can. Today is day 5, you want to set 15 minutes coffee break on day 25. In version 9, there's no such concept. In version 10, you can do that. And then, of course, in version 10, you can save all the roadmap in your own configuration. You can reuse them later. That comes with all the road signs. So this is example. You can preset certain things. Let's say you set warehouse, you set it to be available on day 21, you set it, and that's it. You can set it. You can schedule it. For example, you want to set a coffee break, you can always set a coffee break here, and the coffee break will resume after the countdown is done. So how do you set that? There's a screenshot here showing you, let's say you set 1 minute, and that's the coffee break. All right. Then here is the screenshot of how you save your configuration, including the roadmap, the road signs. Look at my course, the road configuration they're all saved. Okay, so what are the learners seeing? That was what we saw earlier, was from the teacher's point of view, but for the learner will also see the same roadmap on their screen. And clicking this will reveal what is the detail. For example, on day 33, what's going to happen on day 33? The student can click and see, vendor 5 is going to be in play on day 33, and so on. Then we have this new feature improvement in version 10. What are they? We have a lot of new searches. So for example, in R&D, you can search, I just want to deal with orange juice, I just want to deal with bidding, and so you can set it. So this new search will appear in many transaction tables. So feel free to explore them. Then we have this marketing report. In version 9, we were using an old school system, which then you buy a report and then you get it for 10 days, and then you have to rebuy another report for another 10 days, and so on. Now in version 10, you just use the subscription basis. You pay, and then you get the report all the time, updated. And then when you stop paying, then you don't get the report. Okay, so this is only in play if the marketing is on, and this is level basic. Manpower planning, this is a new feature in version 10, and this is in play only if the HCM is on, the human capital management on, and manpower planning is on. And this is advanced and is default to be off. And what is this? Version 9, the retail staff is assumed to have no capacity limit. That means that if they're fully qualified, if their competency is there, if the headcount is there, then they can sell as many. So it doesn't matter if it's holiday or not. But in version 10, you can have a limited capacity. So each staff can handle maximum, say, 1,000 units. So this, it becomes more realistic, of course, because in reality, every staff does have a capacity. So now if you have a holiday, for example, then you really have to pre-hire those staff and make sure that they are there during the holiday so they can address all the spike in the demand. So what can be configured? So in this system, you can configure on and off, of course, and you can consider the capacity per retail staff. So if you set the staff to be maximum 500 units a day, then obviously if you're expecting to sell 5,000, you have to hire a lot of staff. So given that, what are the factors now affecting your retail sales? In version 9, factors that are affecting your retail sales are the available inventory on hand. Of course, there's no inventory, there's no sales, yeah? Very logical and intuitive. Secondly is your price versus your competitor's price. Not only your price, but it has to be in relation to the competitors. And that affects your sales. Then you have this marketing versus competitors. Not just your marketing, but your marketing versus your competitors. Right? This affects your sales. Then, of course, there's market demand. It's always there. It's very reasonable. It's very practical. It's very realistic. Very realistic. And then we have this number of competitors in the same location also affects. So in version, let's say you have 2 people are selling in Singapore, 2 teams are selling in Singapore. Definitely, each of them will be selling less if there were only one team in Singapore. Then there is this holiday. Then there's a spike in holiday, which will be reflected in the forecast, of course. Then there is this crisis, right? If you remember, then you can set the crisis, and then the crisis is going to affect the sales. What happened in the crisis? Well, you have to define the attributes. It could be the sales drop. It could be the supply chain problem. It could be the value of the money is no longer that valuable. The foreign exchange issue and so on. Then you have the staff competency in version 9. It affects your sales. And then the staff count, obviously, it affects your sales in version 9. Now, all that is brought forward in version 10, of course. And then we have another one, which is your staff limited capacity. So can you imagine, just by playing a retail game, how much your learners are going to have to think, right? There's a lot of critical thinking just from the retail itself. You have to think about many things. Therefore, there is no one answer to winning this MonsoonSIM. It's all about thinking. It's all about understanding the concept. It's all about learning. It's not about the result. It's just the process of learning, the thinking. So in line with the limited capacity of the staff, now we have introduced a new concept called the contracted staff. So in version 9, all the staff are considered permanent. They come in, and you need to keep them until they resign or you dismiss them. This is in play, of course, when HCM is on. But if you turn on contract staff, then in version 10, you have additional factor. That means staff can be permanent or contract. You can hire Mr. A for 10 days. And Mr. A will come in and work for 10 days and leave. Of course, they will command a higher wage for sure, but it is also very, very realistic. So the learners will have to manage their human capacity and not just the money and also the space, but now there's additional capacity issue they have to deal with. This is the human side. Okay, so this is configurable, of course. Then you have shipping costs. The cost of shipping in B2B or in version 9, yeah, you know, the cost of shipping to a customer relies or depends on the distance between your warehouse and the customer or your store to the customer's location. Of course, this is only if you turn on B2B shipment, as you can see here, yes? Right, so that's version 9. But in version 10, we have more parameters for the shippers. Okay, it's just more realistic. Now, the shipping for certain goods from your store to the customer relies on distance, yes, and the shipper, and also the volume. So if you ship a large amount of volume, then you incur a lot more costs. And the costs are all parameterized. You can see the volume, you can see the formula, and you can do some calculation, or you can cross-check with the data. And it's also dependent on the shipper, because every shipper will ask for different price, right? So some shipper may be using airplane, some people may be shipping ship, some people may be using a slow trucks. So this is all a lot more realistic, and also give the students additional angle to consider when they operate their logistic issue. Version 9, the cost is pretty much depending on the distance, that's it. But version 10, because of the volume issue, now the stock move is not only depending on the distance, but also depending on the shipper and also depending on the volume. Of course, in the future, we will also be based on the weight of the goods, but that's for the future. So this is in play only if warehouse is on, and this basic. Which means same thing here, right? So not only the cost, but also the time. So in version 9, the movement of time is only depending on the distance, but in version 10, the stock move depends not only on the distance, but also on the shipper. While the cost side we have already addressed, now the time side only depends on the distance and the shipper. Again, some shipper may be using a fast transportation mode, some shipper may be using a slow transportation mode. Auto replenishment approval in version 9, they are automatically approved, but in version 10, you can configure to be auto or non-auto. I think this is pretty straightforward. If you use auto replenishment, you'll see that, and you can configure them. To want to make it easy, you make it automatic approved. If not, you can give the chance a student to approve the shipment. Because sometimes, because of the shipping cost issue, you need the student to be more careful now in terms of planning their movement, because some of the cost of shipment may be quite large. So the motto, back to our motto of R&D, is that easier to teach, easier to learn. How do we do that? Well, we have just made it more simplified, more intuitive, and more responsive. On the more to learn, more to teach side, what have we done? We have added more concepts such as human capacity, human limitation. We have added various shipping modes, shipping costs, and we have also added the concept of contract worker. All right, so that is the key highlights of the version 10. Feel free to explore yourself, and I look forward to seeing you again or hearing your message in the forum. Thank you.